This is Marcus Whitney's audio universe.
Like, you gotta do the work. You gotta show up and just do the work.
What's good? Welcome back. Another episode of Marcus Whitney Live. Happy Tuesday. Hope everybody is doing well. So man, COVID-19 has been it's just this really, really weird experience. We're doing all sorts of things that we wouldn't normally do and having conversations that we wouldn't normally have. And a friend of mine, Whitney, who I haven't talked to in a while, just started engaging everything in the wake of George Floyd. And she said, hey, you really should follow up with my friend Lokelani, and she makes this incredible ice cream. So she pointed me out to her Instagram profile, and I was like, okay, before I have her on the show, I need to have this ice cream because the pictures look incredible, and it's plant-based, which I'm plant-based, and I love ice cream. So it's amazing. It's like I DM her, and the next thing I know, there's ice cream on my front porch in a freezer bag. And y'all, it's in these like little cups, kind of like almost like the size of like the Italian Ices cups. And it is like the best ice cream ever. It is so, so good. And so after that, I was like, yeah, let's get her on the show to talk about this. Like, who just comes up with this? So without further ado, welcome to the show, Lokelani Alabanza.
Hello.
How are you?
I am well.
Awesome.
How are you?
Awesome. So I'm excited about this episode because, every time that I invite someone to join the show, there's this question, hey, what do you want to talk about? And people normally have like 3 or 4 bullet points. And you were like, all things ice cream. And I was like, okay, so can we actually take a 30-minute show and talk about ice cream? And you were like, yep, we can. Great. So we're going to do it. But we'll start with 3 minutes of background into, who you are before we get into the fabulous world of ice cream.
Okay, perfect. I like to tell everyone I'm an astronaut/clown, but no. Now, I've been in the industry for, my gosh, like 15, probably 20 years. My entire adult life has been this career of culinary, and I fell into the ice cream world like 4 years ago, and it really has changed my life dramatically, especially with my own identity, food, culture, history. And I didn't know I'd love something so much it gives me pleasure to create this and watch everyone else find joy in it. No, I've lived many places, and I ended up in Tennessee 5 years ago. And it's a long list, but no, here I am. I really, right now in my life, I am making ice cream. And it's just been a really beautiful journey. It has been like the education of my culinary career. So it's allowed me to create a beautiful space, meet a lot of people, and here I am. So we're here today now, and we're going to talk about ice cream.
So you are the second female culinary entrepreneur that I know that specializes in ice cream. Probably 5 years ago, I got to meet Jenny of Jenny's Ice Cream. And hear her story. A friend of mine, Jacob Jones, and I threw this event called Charge, and Jenny was one of the speakers telling her entire story, which was a fascinating, incredible story. So I'm excited to now chronicle the second incredible female culinary entrepreneur who specializes in ice cream. So first of all, tell us, as someone who had a background career in culinary, what is distinct and special about really getting into ice cream?
So ice cream is really interesting because the way I started is, I went to culinary school. I wanted to be a chef, not a pastry chef. And then when I moved to LA, the only opening I had that was available for me was in pastry. So then I entered pastry because women weren't really in the kitchen. It was like very much male dominant.
Okay.
And so I'm in pastry, and then I find out, oh, I'm actually pretty good at this thing. So you learn how to make ice cream, the basic, on a little machine or a Paco Jet, which has an auger and it's very loud, but it's very quick. Or you have a gelato machine, and it's a very like arduous process, and it takes forever. And then that was kind of the medium that I went throughout. I always had ice cream as part of a composed dish. There was not me making a pint of it. It was a pint for service.
Okay.
And so it didn't occur to me, oh, I'm going to actually make this on a commercial scale. Fast forward like a million years. I have a job, leave it, get a job, and then I have 2.5, 3 weeks to build a program for a company that had never had ice cream before. And then I'm in this room with these very expensive ice cream machines, and it's the man that services them that has to teach me how to do this. So it put it on a different, it was a different plane, because I thought, I know what chocolate and vanilla are, but then it opened up this whole realm of science, what sugar does, what fat does, what time does. And so it's a lot of little uncontrollable variables to make this beautiful, cold, very nostalgic thing that's devoured very quickly. So it's a process, and you have to learn it. And what I learned, when you enter something you've never been in before, you have to go find the information, because people don't just hand it out to you.
Yeah.
So it was a lot of hours of like being on the internet. It took me 6 months to create the base. I'd wake up in the middle of the night like, oh, I overcooked it, I have to start over, or what kind of scoop are you using, or what kind of bucket are you putting the actual product in, or where are you sourcing your vanilla? It's a really interesting realm. And so ice cream makers, it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work. And she's been doing it for so long, Jenny. So she's created this culture behind it. And we will even talk about the styles of ice cream that are made, because there's different types of ice creams that are being made. And not a lot of people know that. So yeah.
So I want to go back to, the point that you made about moving from knowing chocolate and vanilla to having to build this entire program for this company that you were working for at the time. Was that the point at which you realized all of the different variables that went into it, and how difficult it would be to build a system to consistently deliver the same quality product? Is that sort of the...
Yes. Oh, okay. Yeah. It's about, my gosh. Yes. So everything's about, in the kitchen, it's about quality, and it is about consistency. So that's why people return to your establishment, is
right,
because they have the same service, they have the same toast, the same thing, they sit in the same place. It's about this repetition.
Predictable.
So it's very predictable. Ice cream is really interesting, because it is predictable, but you have to be very careful with it, because it's very time sensitive. It's extremely time sensitive. If it melts a little bit, it's going to change the texture of it.
Yeah.
There's so many little things. So yeah, I entered this world of like, oh my gosh, I went from 1 quart to 20 gallons of base, and the 20 gallons of base, I used to joke and tell all my assistants that they had to bring wetsuits in, because you get soaked. You're cleaning this machine, but then you have to clean it really specifically, because listeria is a real thing. You don't want to get people sick.
Yeah.
So it's all of this stuff. And you learn that very quickly. So you have to start building procedures, and you have to start building a system that's actually going to work. And that's quick, because it goes fast. Like, you make it, you pull it out of the machine, it has to go in the bucket has to go and harden. Some people have blast freezers where like it blasts it immediately, and then you put it into the freezer. People don't know that you have to cure your base overnight, which means you don't just make base and spin it. You let it sit, you let it absorb, you let it settle, and then it's better to spin the next day. Those are things that people don't know about. They just know, I have this milk and cream, I have this machine at home, I'm going to make this product. So I learned how to make, it was about quality at the end of the day.
Yeah.
It's always about quality. Always, always.
So let's quickly talk about, how you evolved from doing this for another company to doing this yourself. And sort of your leap into entrepreneurship there. Had you done entrepreneurship before?
No. Well, okay. I had this tiny little pie company in Vegas, and I'd make like 500 hand pies out of my house. So like,
okay,
who does that?
Okay.
I was like, oh my God, this is great. It is fun.
That counts.
It wasn't. So going into ice cream, if you said 5 years ago that this would be my future, I would have laughed, because I just knew I wanted a product, though. I knew out of everyone that I had worked for, and I've had some really incredible foundation work. Like, I've worked with incredible, incredible restaurateurs and chefs, and I'm very proud of that work and being a part of that. But I also knew that it wasn't for me to have a brick and mortar. I just didn't have that interest. I just kept saying, I just want a product. I just want a product. I don't know what this product is. Well, then I had this product. The product wasn't technically mine. I was under someone else's house.
Right.
And so I knew about probably 10 years ago when I lived in LA, I thought it'd be so cool to put cannabis in everything. Like, put it in everything, put it in butter, put it in Alfredo sauce, put it in all this stuff. And I kept thinking it would be really cool to put it in chocolates and desserts and then have them delivered to people. That was way before, that was before all of this ever happened. So it was always in the back of my mind.
Yeah.
And it wouldn't be until I started making the ice cream, and I knew the dairy stuff worked, but I wanted to introduce the non-dairy because it's so easy to go to the store and have the same blah flavor. I wanted people to really have that experience where it was like, oh my gosh, that is dairy free. That's crazy. And so I tinkered away on that just unconsciously, for a while. And I went to see a friend. I went home for Christmas a couple years ago, and does the same thing I do. And she's incredible. She's in San Francisco. And I was telling her, I want to start this company. I have this name. And she said, no, how about this name? And so my original name was California Skies.
Okay.
So
okay.
Then she goes, saturated, because the market's saturated. And if you want to make the CBD ice cream and you want to make it like this will set it apart. And I went, oh my gosh, this is genius.
It is genius.
So
it is a great name. It is a great name. It just opened up a realm of, okay, I have two target audiences, pain and anxiety, or pain and or anxiety and stress. And then we have pain. How do we bridge them together? Mm-hmm. We're going to bridge them with ice cream. There is not one human I have met that is like, I don't want any ice cream. Humans love ice cream. Yeah.
So when I put all that together and I had a tiny focus group, and then I realized that this is what needs to happen, I was going to launch it this year, but COVID had a different plan. The universe had a different plan. And so many things happened. And it was like, I could not have picked a better timing in a weird sense.
Yeah, I get that.
For it to come together, because then after I found myself not in a job, I realized now I have to create my own job.
Yes.
And no one would leave me alone about it. Not my parents, not my friends. They were like, when are you starting? What's going on? What's happening? What do you need? And then Saturated fully came into formation. So
now you are running this business. Tell us how do you operate an ice cream business by yourself that you've launched in a COVID-19 pandemic? Like, what does that look like on a day-to-day, week-to-week basis? I'm very, very curious.
It's wild. Production's never been a problem for me because I'm a definite workhorse. Like, I will just go in and make product. And then I had to have that conversation with myself. Okay, it's fine if you make weekly small batches. It's okay. Because, in my mind, it's like, I gotta make all this stuff. And it's like, well, no, you still have to build this other stuff too. So I had to learn how to build a brand guide. I had so many steps into creating a brand that would have a vision and have longevity. That was the part. And it was really amazing. The process has been really phenomenal because when you don't lie to yourself anymore and you're actually honest with the things that you want. And I finally just broke down and said, okay, universe, I just need you to bring the right people into my life that are trustworthy, that are good at what they do, and that will help build this brand and push it forward. Mm-hmm. And that we all move together as a whole.
Right.
And then people started showing up. And the next thing I know, I'm in this beautiful curate group that meets on Zoom every Thursday for the last 8 weeks with women that are just starting their own businesses. And we go through all this stuff. And so we're like accountability buddies for everyone. And they help me move and function and be responsible. So it's like, okay, did you order a printer this week? Did you fill out this paperwork this week? Did you file this this week? Did you buy a whiteboard? Did you all these things? So that helped on the daily. So what's happened is I've had a lot of interest in the product and what's happening. And I'm still catching up with certain things. So at first it was a little overwhelming. I'm not going to lie. It was like, I went to sleep one night and then I woke up and I'm like, who are all these new people following me? Like, who are these people? What do you need? So I'm still trying to educate people as well about, CBD and what it means and dairy free. And we don't make pints. It's 4 ounces. It's just trying to, propel that knowledge out.
Why? Can you talk about why you make 4 ounce servings as opposed to a pint?
So for me, I was always really inspired by, the Haagen-Dazs or Ben and Jerry's or even Jenny's little 3.8 ounce container, the grab and go. And I thought, well, that's convenient because why do you need a pint?
Right. I totally agree. A pint's too much.
a pint's too much, but I get it. Pints are there because you're okay. Let's be real. You're not gonna have half the pint. You're gonna be like, I just ate the pint and I feel fine and it's okay.
Always happens. Always
there
happens.
is zero judgment here. I get it. I've been there too. So the 4 ounce just made more sense, especially with the milligram amount, because then you can see it and you're like, oh, this is what this is. And I either can have 5 of these this week, dosed out, or maybe I want one every day for 30 days.
Yeah. I was wondering if the fact that it is infused with CBD influenced you wanting to go with the smaller sizes just so people can better track their consumption of CBD, right?
Yes, 100%. So it just made sense to have the grab and go method.
Okay.
And then you're like, oh, it's funny getting people used to that, but everyone seemed to be really open with it. Once they see it, they're like, oh, I just realized that was a good amount.
Yeah, I liked it. I thought at first I was a little thrown off because I was expecting the pint. Mm-hmm. But then I pulled it out and it felt like, oh, but this also feels like a guilt-free serving. It feels like if I eat this whole thing right now, no harm, no foul. It's just totally cool, right?
Yeah. It's recreating that space because you're used to going to a scoop shop and getting a scoop on a cone or in a cup.
Yeah.
This is a different experience. This experience is like choose your own adventure. So when the website's up, you can go and you can pick 4 different flavors. We'll call it like a starter pack. And that's your, I have these 4 different flavors that I've picked for this thing. So eventually I'll move into different frozen confections, but it was just to have this little introduction as to what this is and what it does.
Now your brand is called Saturated. I think it's really funny that the market is saturated. But you're the first CBD infused dairy free delivery ice cream I've ever heard of, right? And so, you talked about having a market where over here you've got the anxiety and stress people and over here you've got the pain people. I came at it from, I really want to taste a new dairy-free ice cream. The CBD thing was just sort of a added benefit, but it wasn't sort of key for me. Talk about your customer base and do they see this as like I got to have it every week? I'm like, do you have like heavy, super repeat buyers?
Yeah, I have repeat buyers. I have a really interesting customer base.
Yeah,
I have people that come out of because I'm really elusive right now too, because we're still in our beginning stages. So it's like we're setting all this stuff up. And because a woman came, she's like, I read your Food 52 article. You're very elusive. I was like, that's a good word to use for this situation currently. No, it's a lot of DMing because it's a really interesting group. It goes from young into, it is scaled.
I can see that.
And it's really interesting because what makes me feel good is when someone says, I can't have dairy, I can't have soy, and I haven't been able to have this product in so long. And then it's like, oh, you're going to try this. That's what this is all worth. This is because of that. That's what I want, to always know that there is that space for someone to enjoy this product, regardless of what they cannot have. And that was always what this was about, because I myself don't do dairy and I don't do gluten because of my own health issues. So it was one of those things where it's like, also, I don't have a sweet tooth really, but it's fundamentally was, how do I just give you something that's going to make you feel good? Which then breaks it into the wellness category, which I didn't realize I was going into. It was a very, I had no idea that little part of the road branched out, and that's where we're headed. So,
I don't want to just kind of get into aspirations of scale or anything like that, but before I started doing Marcus Whitney Live, I used to do a different version of the show called the Creative Power Hour, where I would meet with people face to face and we would talk for an hour or more. And, I got to do a great session with Ben Sticks, who's the founder of Beehive, and sort of talk about, the growth of that business. And now, just this year, he started this huge production facility, and it never started with that intent. It started, pretty small like yours did, just like house parties and just like pop-up stuff, right? But over time, it just grew, and now it's like in all the stores and getting shipped around the country and sort of all that stuff. So, can you talk a little bit about the ice cream market from that perspective? And, are you getting inbound requests that are talking about scale? Are you starting to have those conversations, or is that too early?
No, that was being talked about before. It wasn't until, the goal for me for Saturated is I want distribution. because I don't need a brick and mortar right now. Now, am
No.
I open and privy to like a temporary pop-up style like Goop? Absolutely. With
Yeah.
other beautiful, very intended brands and collaborations? Yes. Because I like to think that the product is of beautiful quality. It's very specific. But I want it to be in dispensaries. I want it to be in whatever, niche market. I want you to be able to go and find it, because I don't need you to have to come to the store.
Yeah.
Like, I want you to be able to be on the West Coast and be like, I have saturated here, or so-and-so's carrying it. That was always the vision, was for it to just be distributed across America. And so when I talk to people now and then they have the product, then mindset changes, because then it becomes more curious, because you're like, that's a really great idea, I want to support it. But it's not until people have actually savored it that they go, oh, okay, you're on to something. So what is it that you'd like? So scaling that is the big thing, is going, right now it's local, but I want to go national with shipping. And so once we go national, then, we're headed into a different direction where it becomes, I'm not making small batches weekly and doing pop-ups. Now I'm making larger batches that get shipped across America into different places that people have an expectation. So I didn't think about that before until there was interest into the business and what I was doing and the future of it. And so that has changed a lot of it.
So to that end, like when I purchased from you, as you said, it was DM and Venmo straight up, right?
Yeah.
Is that still how you like? Is
Well,
that still,
now I'm waiting.
That feels so underground. Like, it felt really cool to do it, but but it's super underground, right? So the question is like, do you have, I don't know, like a Shopify store in the future, or like, are any of those things in the work?
I have to tell you, this happened so fast.
Good for you.
It was light speed. It was just like took off. I was like, okay, gotta go. So it's still underground, but I have a website that I've been working on for months. Like, it's just been months, because it's going to get linked to Shopify. And then it's going to be, that's the whole point, was that you go on. So between that time and launching that website, I had to keep this momentum going.
Right. Right. I get
it. Which is that underground, like, oh, meet me over here and I'll drop the freezer bag off at your house, right? But nobody seems to mind, which is what's really funny. And I go, only during COVID would this be an appropriate situation,
It's a special feeling. Like, you definitely feel like you're on the inside of something super cool. And look, I mean, for the founder and the crafts person to actually deliver something, like, that shit just doesn't happen anymore. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, it is really, I can't explain. So I'm very strategic. I'm not a clown. Like, I know what's going on, but I also know what customer service is. I've worked in retail. I worked at J.Crew for many years in Anthropologie while I worked in my kitchen jobs. You know, I know what customer service means. And so I know what it means for me, the founder, to DM you and respond and really make sure that you're getting your things. And I do my daily deliveries, or weekly deliveries, and I'm fine with it for now. And I know there's going to be a point where that's not going to happen anymore. But for right now, at this grassroots stage, this is part of this ad hoc. Like, it's part of this growth. And
I
so
love it.
I feel fortunate for it. But is it going to last forever? No, because once this website goes up, it's game over. I'm in a different type of retail, because then it's about fulfilling orders, and then it's going to be a different type of situation where we're not going to have that one-on-one contact anymore. So as long as I know how to muddle it out now, I quite enjoy it in a way, but no, it won't be for forever. It's just, in the interim, how do you fill in that space and keep people wanting it still and interested while you're building something else, that's going to be more lasting.
How does the CBD stuff work from an FDA perspective? Like, I had Tanya on the show, with her business Nusachi and everything. And, so much of what she was talking about was consistency and quality. And, CBD aside, you were talking about the ingredients and having to source these consistently high quality ingredients as being key to the consistency of the end product of the ice cream. How is that going to work for you from a scaling perspective? I mean, will you have a one-to-one partnership with a super strong CBD, provider? And then what is the FDA? Is there any additional regulatory sort of, hurdles from an FDA perspective, because it's got CBD infused?
So CBD is really interesting, and so is the FDA.
Yeah.
But everyone, when I first started, a lot of my friends and family kept saying, well, why don't you come back to California? And I said, no, because they technically don't like it. They don't approve of it in food and beverage.
Okay.
Tennessee, they look at it as a food product.
Got
So
it.
it's a different type of situation for Tennessee. Now, this is just Tennessee's rule. It doesn't mean that the FDA doesn't want it. They don't have it approved of it because they're doing their own work right now with the medication. It's a whole rabbit hole with what they're doing in the
Right.
farm bill. Like it's very specific, but there's still states that don't look at CBD being legal.
Okay.
And there's some platforms that you can't sell CBD products on and go and ship them across state lines.
Yep.
So it's a very weird gray area. Even coming down, I'm sure she probably talked to you about even like being insured. There's so many different
Oh God,
areas.
I can't even
It is
imagine
wild.
the insurance aspects of it. I mean, because this is
Oh,
completely new. I don't know how you underwrite it. It's like the risk.
oh, it's
You
I. Oh,
don't know what
trust
the
me,
risk
I've
is.
been emailing back and forth with this really amazing woman. And she'll go, Loki, it's about the label. It's like labeling. So my thing when I did a lot of research about labeling, and California is probably the most astringent. They're very specific with their guidelines and their codes. And so I thought if I can make the label as California specific, so if we get to California, I don't
Yeah.
have to deal with that red tape because it's
Right.
California. There's it's a lot of red tape and policy.
Of course.
So here, it's just starting out in Tennessee. So, and it's everywhere, and so when you look at it as a food product, but it has to have a third party, it has to have been third party tested. That's the very bit that, I mean, because a lot of people say, I have this product, but the quality's not good, or they got it from some bootleg area. People are getting sick.
Now, does it have to be third party tested before it's put into your product, or like?
Yeah.
Okay.
So the product I
Okay.
actually buy has
Right.
had to have been third party
Got it.
tested.
Got it.
So yes, the goal is to partner with someone that makes an exceptional product that also showcases that if it's local, even better.
Yeah.
So like Tanya's amazing. Plus, I love the fact there's not a lot of women of color in the cannabis industry. Like it's wild. Like, so you're a eunuch when you find someone else, you're like, yes. And then and then I'm like, oh, and I'm making ice cream on top of that. That doesn't make any sense to anybody most of the time. So there's a lot of rules and regulations. It's just getting through it because people are still making product at the end of the day. When you look at the numbers for cannabis and CBD and ice cream, it's insanity what it makes, what the future is for cannabis,
Yeah.
what the future is for CBD, what the future is for plant-based food,
Oh
because
my
that
gosh.
is the future that we're going into.
Absolutely.
So going back a few questions ago, that was another part of it was plant-based is the future. This is where we're headed.
That's where we're headed.
So
That's right.
how do you get onto that before, it starts to take off?
Amazing. One final question, because we have managed to take a whole half hour and talk about ice cream. As you look to scale, what are going to be those really, really big capital, improvements that you're going to need to make? Like my friend Bailey, she's founder of Jackalope, and to really kind of scale their canning operations, they had to build this warehouse over here, back in my neighborhood. What are you going to have to do from a storage and transportation? How big is that investment going to have to be in order for you to actually be able to do national distribution?
It'll be big, but the biggest thing, and people ask me a lot, so what is it that you need? And I think about investors. We talk about it a lot. I get it brought up, or angel investing. People are really interested. And I think of, we need our own kitchen. We're about to move into a kitchen, but I would like Saturated to have its own kitchen where you not only have where we're making the product, but we're also able to fulfill the orders for the product. So it's under one roof. And then we're able to ship directly out of our actual warehouse or whatever it is.
Got it.
So yeah, that does cost money. But that, if we do distribution, that is the next step, is distribution. So it's like, well, who wants to come on board? For this brand. So that's what our next phase is. I always kept saying it. And even if we don't use the kitchen and someone else, we open it up for other people to be in it. It's really just, we're going to become our own co-packer is essentially what it's going to be, and fulfillment. So we'll make it, we'll fulfill it, and we'll just keep it moving.
That's amazing. So I feel one of the things I love about doing this show is I feel like I get these opportunities to document these stories that are absolutely going to be big stories before they hit super big, you've already been covered, but this kind of like in-depth interview is super cool. And we'll have to have you back on. Like, let's think of a cool milestone for which to kind of have you come back on and talk about everything that you've learned and what's ahead.
Oh my gosh.
Do you think like, post getting your kitchen maybe and operating that for like 6 months, we should like circle back and kind of see where you are?
Oh yeah. It is. It's going to get wild here in a minute. So it was funny when I was thinking about like the LLC, because I was like, oh, sole proprietorship. I'm just by myself. It's like, are you hiring within 6 to 12 months? I'm like, I guess. Like, it was just like, yes, in a year from now, I'm not going to be the only person fulfilling shipments. I'm excited. Whatever happens will be good. That's how I've been focusing on it, because she's here. Saturated's here. It's doing its thing. And I'm excited to just share it with those that are really excited for it and want it.
I love it. On that note, thank you so much, Lokelani, for being here. And everybody out there, really easy to follow her. Saturated Ice Cream on Instagram, saturatedicecream.com. Great brand, great product. And if you're lucky, she'll answer your DMs and get you some ice cream in the next week. It's really good. I can vouch for it. So definitely follow. This is an incredible story. The book, Create and Orchestrate, in stores now. Go ahead and grab that copy if you haven't already. The podcast, Marcus Whitney's Audio Universe, everywhere that you subscribe and listen to podcasts. And you can follow me online everywhere at Marcus Whitney. That's it. It was a great episode, and I will see you all back here tomorrow for another one. Until then, let's build the new normal, y'all. Peace.
Thank you for tuning in to Marcus Whitney's Audio Universe.